You've been told INFJs are soft empaths. That's not a personality trait. That's a psychological strategy. When someone calls you too sensitive, you're mentally cataloging every micro-expression they've made in the last 5 minutes. When they see tears, you see data. When they think you're absorbing their emotions, you're actually calculating their next 3 moves. The soft empath persona is a lie you tell the world, while you gather intelligence on how people really operate. And there's a strategic reason you've been maintaining this deception. By the end of this video, you'll understand why INFJs deliberately choose this mask, how it gives you invisible power, and when you finally drop it without guilt. We're talking about 3 phases: the trap, the advantage, and the shift. Before we start, please hit the like button, comment, and subscribe so you won't miss any of our weekly deep dives into the world of personality types. And if you're looking for a deeper understanding of yourself and your INFJ personality, browse our favorite INFJ products in the description. And click the link in the comments to take our favorite free personality test. The projection trap: why everyone needs you soft. Here's what's really happening when people label you the soft empath. They're not seeing you. They're creating a dumping ground for their emotional chaos. And they need you to stay soft because it absolves them of doing their own psychological work. Think about it. When someone treats you like their personal therapist, they get all the relief of confession without any of the accountability that comes with actual therapy. You become their emotional trash can, and the empath label makes it seem noble instead of exploitative. INFJs initially accept this role because it feels safer than revealing your true analytical nature. You'd rather let them think you're absorbing their pain than show them you're actually dissecting their patterns. The soft empath mask protects you from having to explain your real mental process. But here's where the trap gets deeper. Your silence and careful listening gets interpreted as weakness rather than observation. People mistake your strategic restraint for emotional fragility. They think you're overwhelmed by their feelings when you're actually underwhelmed by their predictability. The feedback loop becomes toxic. People become addicted to the emotional relief you provide without reciprocating that energy. They dump their problems, feel lighter, and walk away while you're left holding their psychological baggage. You become the supporting character in everyone else's drama while your own needs get buried under their projections. And the moment you show boundaries or strategic thinking, the projection flips instantly. Suddenly, you're not the gentle empath anymore. Now, you're the cold manipulator, the calculating villain, the person with secret bad intentions. They can't handle the cognitive dissonance of realizing you were never what they projected onto you. This is the projection trap. People need you to be soft because it serves their emotional needs, not yours. They need you to be the canvas they can paint their unprocessed feelings onto. And they'll fight to keep you in that box because losing their emotional dumping ground threatens their entire coping mechanism. The trap works because it exploits your natural pattern recognition abilities. You see their pain, you understand the psychological mechanics behind it, and your intuition tells you exactly what they need to hear. But instead of using this insight for your own strategic advantage, you use it to make them feel better about themselves. You become addicted to being needed, and they become addicted to not having to grow. It's a codependent cycle disguised as empathy. And the longer you stay in this dynamic, the more your own strategic mind gets buried under the weight of everyone else's emotional chaos. The real tragedy isn't that people misunderstand you. It's that you start to lose access to your own power while serving theirs. The strategic advantage of the mask. But here's what most people miss about the soft empath persona. It's not just a trap you fall into. It's also the most powerful intelligence gathering system you'll ever have access to. When people think you're harmless, they show you everything. The soft empath mask creates a blind spot in their awareness where they reveal their unfiltered truth. They think you're absorbing their emotions, but you're actually cataloging patterns and predicting behavior 3 moves ahead. This is where your NI really kicks in. While they're dumping their emotional chaos on you, your mind is running pattern recognition in the background. You're not just hearing their words, you're mapping their psychological landscape, understanding their core motivations, identifying their triggers, and predicting exactly how they'll react in future situations. The mask gives you superior data collection because people drop their guard completely. They think you're too soft to judge them, too empathetic to use information against them, too overwhelmed by feelings to think strategically. So they tell you things they'd never tell anyone else. They reveal their insecurities, their manipulative tactics, their hidden agendas, their deepest fears. You learn to read between the lines of what people say versus what they actually mean. When someone says, "I'm fine," while their body language screams distress, you catalog that discrepancy. When they claim they want your advice, but argue with every suggestion, you recognize they just want validation. When they consistently create drama and then play victim, you see the pattern they can't see in themselves. This strategic positioning lets you anticipate problems before they happen. You can avoid toxic people by recognizing the red flags early. You make better decisions because you understand the real motivations driving everyone around you. You can navigate social situations with surgical precision because you know exactly which buttons to push and which ones to avoid. The soft empath mask essentially turns you into a psychological detective. People voluntarily give you their entire case file while thinking you're just a shoulder to cry on. They hand you the keys to understanding their entire personality structure, and they thank you for listening. But there's a cost that becomes more apparent over time. You're solving everyone's problems while neglecting your own growth. You're using your strategic mind to serve other people's needs instead of your own goals. You're becoming an expert on everyone else's psychology while losing touch with your own potential. The mask starts suffocating when you realize you're wasting your intellectual gifts on people who don't deserve your insights. You're giving premium psychological analysis to people who see you as their free therapy session. You're using your pattern recognition abilities to help people who would never return the favor. You begin to understand that your empathy was never about feeling their emotions. It was about understanding their psychological mechanics so completely that you could predict and influence their behavior. But instead of using this power for your own strategic advantage, you've been using it to make them feel better about their dysfunction. The strategic advantage becomes a strategic disadvantage when you realize the intelligence you're gathering isn't being used to protect and advance your own interests. You're becoming an expert on everyone else's weaknesses, while your own strengths remain hidden and undeveloped. The empathy shift, when strategy wakes up. The breaking point comes when you finally do the math. You realize the emotional labor is completely one-sided and utterly unsustainable. You've been giving premium psychological services to people who see you as their emotional janitor. This is when your empathy doesn't die. It just becomes selective and strategic instead of automatic and unlimited. You stop being an emotional sponge and start being an emotional strategist. The shift happens when you begin valuing your energy more than other people's comfort. You realize that your capacity for understanding human psychology is a finite resource that should be invested wisely, not scattered randomly on anyone who demands your attention. This is when INFJs stop explaining themselves and start acting on their conclusions without seeking approval. You stop trying to convince people to see your perspective and start making decisions based on what you already know about them. You trust your pattern recognition more than their promises. You begin to see manipulation attempts with crystal clarity and respond with calculated distance rather than emotional engagement. When someone tries to guilt trip you, you recognize the tactic immediately and refuse to participate. When they try to make their problems your emergency, you maintain your boundaries without negotiation. The door slam becomes a strategic tool rather than an emotional reaction. It's not about anger or hurt feelings. It's about efficiently cutting off energy drains and protecting your resources for people and projects that actually matter. You stop wasting time on people who have proven they don't respect your boundaries. People are shocked when the soft INFJ suddenly becomes unavailable and uncompromising. They can't understand how their reliable emotional dumping ground suddenly develops standards. They expect you to explain yourself, to justify your boundaries, to apologize for changing the rules of engagement. But you don't. Because you finally understand that your strategic mind and pattern recognition abilities were never meant to serve other people's emotional convenience. They were meant to serve your own goals and protect your own interests. This phase separates those who valued your authentic self from those who only wanted your service. The people worth keeping will respect the real you and adapt to your boundaries. The energy vampires will remove themselves when they realize you're no longer available for exploitation. The empathy shift isn't about becoming cold or heartless. It's about becoming strategic with your warmth and intentional with your care. You still understand people deeply, but now you use that understanding to make better decisions about who deserves access to your inner world. The real you was never the soft empath. That was just the safe version you showed the world while you gathered intelligence and learned how people operate. Stop hinting at your boundaries and start stating them clearly without over-explanation. Your strategic mind and pattern recognition are your actual superpowers, not your ability to absorb others' emotions. Trust me, the people worth keeping will respect the real you, and the rest will remove themselves. Click the link to take our free personality test and discover more about your authentic INFJ nature. If you want to continue the journey to understanding yourself or an INFJ in your life, click either of the following videos where we continue to unlock the secrets of the INFJ personality type.